So the first of those messages that I wanted to discuss was really the whole issue of competency frameworks. And when we talk about competence, underpinning all of that is something around standards. You can only decide whether somebody has the skills, knowledge and competence if they have some standard to work to. And we've been developing standards in a whole range of workforce development issues now for a number of years. And particularly we've been developing recently apprenticeships in legal services with a range of other colleagues in other organisations, and I'm delighted to see some of those people here today. And in particular the apprenticeships for the Legal Advice Centre in Wales I just really wanted to talk about, because last year we were commissioned by the UK Commission for Employment and Skills to commence apprenticeship framework development for the legal advice sector, which started actually in February in 2014. And once we've developed these standards, this will ultimately mean that organisations such as the Citizens Advice Bureau and ACAS will be able to further develop and professionalise their workers to GCSE A-level standards in advice giving, levels 2 and level 3. And this will support such organisations in building their capabilities at a time when resources are of course becoming much scarcer. With Her Majesty's Courts and Tribunals Service, we also receive further funding in Wales to support the court service to build their capabilities in priority areas such as court administration and operational functions. And through this piece of work we have developed an apprenticeship framework which has enabled 20 courts and tribunal service workers across Wales to upskill and develop their areas of work in the organisation. And that through the process the court service are also developing the mentoring skills of more senior workers and finding both apprentices and mentors and transferring their recently acquired skills into other aspects of their work. And I think it's one of the issues when you start talking about apprenticeships and mentoring, it's not just focusing on the apprentice, it's also focusing on the skills of the person that's actually supposed to be supporting that person as they go through their apprenticeship, and that's sometimes some of the things that are forgotten. And then finally, in terms of these competency frameworks, we have been developing apprenticeships for solicitors, chartered legal executives with colleagues in Silex and paralegals, both here in Wales and in England. It's a huge amount of development work that is now going on in these areas, and we have the existing frameworks of the higher apprenticeship in Wales and the apprenticeships that are currently in existence in England, and with the potential of the new Trailblazer solicitor apprenticeships that are happening in England and also in paralegals and in chartered legal executives as well, and potentially a separate approach being taken in Wales. What I don't want to do is, for having released this report, produced it with you, for it then to crumble into atoms. I really truly believe that there is something that is special about the recommendations, and I think that if we were to follow through on those recommendations, then actually we will have a world-class mediation alternative dispute resolution centre in Wales. I wanted to thank the team, and in particular for Sheila for the coordination of that work. It's in her last but one day, so this is the culmination of her work in producing the report, and I wanted to thank her for doing all of that. And so my final call really is, please don't climb on the ball, and maybe we can actually get some of this doing. Thanks so much indeed.